Well, it's my show, but you got to help me understand something because we're going to talk about later on Tony Khan, poor Tony, as I feel for him. When wrestling finally drives you to the wall and you've lost your mind, it's a horrible thing. And we'll talk about that later, but how could he not even bother to have anybody do the due diligence, since he's the wrestling nerd, the statistics nerd, the factoids nerd, the history nerd? He regularly apparently calls Uncle Dave, who's the biggest independent wrestling news conglomerator, if it's an apartment house in Japan with the GLEAT cast, he'll know about it. Uncle Dave. How did they manage to name their new title after a goddamn championship that the NWA is using right now, and announce that the reason for bringing that title is to honor the heritage of when it was the NWA title, when it's the NWA title right now? They're actively using it. They haven't. I know some people will say whatever the NWA is doing right now is a secret, and there may be validity to that. But if you're enough of a wrestling nerd that you could bother to do any kind of, as the kids say now, do your research, Google it, whatever. How did they do this?
Intentionally, clearly. I don't think it was like, oh, we had no idea the NWA has one too. I think they knew, they didn't care. Maybe there's some feelings between the two over the Shockwave trademark. We can get to that in a minute.
Well, why would it be so important to have another belt in a company where there are so many championship belts that nobody keep track of what's what and who's got what, and it's ridiculous? You got to name the new belt that and invite, again, people are going to, regardless of what kind of validity that Tony might think that he has or whatever, people are always going to pick the little guy against the dick, except for the most AEW extremists, and they generally are the ones that like the little promotions, are they not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but thinking about this, I have a problem with Tony Khan creating another championship. I don't have a problem with him naming it the National Championship. However, that changes once you pretend that this has anything to do with the old NWA National Championship.
And actually name the people in the talking about it that held it in the 80s.
Yeah, Wahoo got a shout out in 2025 on AEW Dynamite. So, I mean, it seems kind of shitty. But I mean, there are the same titles in so many different places. It just so happens that Crockett and WCW didn't have the same exact titles as WWF. But yeah, again, I don't think that if Tony didn't have 20 championships already, I wouldn't have a problem with this. But it does seem like they're fucking with the NWA when they pretend that it has anything to do with the NWA's. Well, it's not even really their history. The history of the NWA's aligned themselves with first.
Well, again, they're trying to make it was on this network for the years. Well, yeah, congratulations. It's way too tenuous a reason to continue to do all this shit just because it's been 30 years since Grandpa Munster has had Super Scary Saturday on TBS. I'd love for him to bring it back. I don't know if it would be successful. But it's just... I don't understand what his fascination is with the endless belts for no reason and no purpose. And even if he wants to get even with the NWA, because the trademark thing that you're about to bring up, why do it this way? Where they just kind of looks bad or indifferent to most people because they don't care.
Yeah, and again, it is an announcement in the midst of a tournament to crown new women's tag team champions. Like, they're not even done with that yet, and they already announced the next title that's coming. I have an article here from WrestleNomics. He did a good write-up of this. They're on Patreon. AEW's new national championship title on Dynamite on Wednesday quickly caught attention. Not just because it'll be roughly the 12th title belt for the promotion, but
Now wait, and that's not counting Ring of Honor either, right?
Oh, I don't know. Actually,
it's not. I know it's not because remember we counted, and I think that's we got up 17 or 18 if you count this new one with Ring of Honor included. Go ahead.
But because the title shares a name with a championship in a prior incarnation of the National Wrestling Alliance in the 1980s, as well as the current version of the NWA under Billy Corgan's leadership. AEW's introduction to the title, whose first champion is to be decided at the company's Full Gear pay-per-view on November 22nd, also coincides with a separate...
in a casino gauntlet match. Wow, we've never seen that idea from Tony Khan before.
It's funny, my first thought before I even go back to this was someone must be returning and say, I'm not coming back unless you give me a belt. But let's go back. It also coincides with a separate ongoing dispute between AEW and the NWA over a different name, Shockwave. G.I. Joe should get on this. There was a G.I. Joe figure, all in blue, named Shockwave. At least one NWA wrestler claimed on social media that the introduction of the new title by AEW was retaliation over the Shockwave trademark litigation. The NWA has used that name for some of its wrestling events as early as 2020. AEW tried to trademark the name last year, possibly for a new television program, which has not launched. AEW and the NWA did not respond to our request for comment for this report. Our questions to AEW included asking whether the company has any response to the claims that the new title's name was chosen as a retaliatory move. We also asked whether AEW has any interest to use the Shockwave name. So let's stop there. That sums up a lot of it.
Well, again, Tony has a fascination with the names and the belts and the whole thing, I know. But let's say that they wanted to call their show Shockwave. And another wrestling company has been not just in Dyersburg, Tennessee at the Herb Welch WrestlePlex, but on the internet and easily accessible Google searches that you can find, using it for a few years. Did he go to Billy Corgan and say, hey, I got a lot of money. How much you want to just let me use Shockwave? Well, if he did and Billy Corgan turned him down and said, no, I don't even want, however much you want to give me, I'll keep it, then just come up with another fucking name. It's a shame. I said before, when Ring of Honor went on the air on the Sinclair stations, I'd called Howard Brody because Ringmasters was so cool that he used for the New Japan shows that he syndicated worldwide with him and Hiro Matsuda. I said, are you still using that? Can I use it? Can we work something out? No, I'm still going to do something with whatever. I said, okay. God damn it. I love you, Howard. But we didn't fucking just use it because he had used it and it wouldn't be right. And he would have potentially sued. But even if he would have sued, you see what I'm saying? It's not... Tony Khan's got more problems with his fucking TV shows than what the names of them are.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there must be a breakdown in communication, if there ever was any, between the NWA and AEW. And maybe Tony, who does seem to get upset when people sue, even if they're right, maybe Tony did do this as a fuck you to the NWA. To me, the bigger issue is just that there's another belt in AEW. That, to me, is the biggest issue. If you're the NWA, do you use this? Is it worth it to lean into this on your show? Us versus them. They're trying to screw with us. Is it worth it or not worth it?
Well, unless their legal advice is to not, do that because for whatever the legal problem is. Yet Mike Mondo is the national champion right now. I would have him out there going, I'm the real NWA national champion. We can prove it. Here's the lineage. We don't know what you're trying to pull, AEW, but either if you want to come over here or I'll come there. And I pretty much can almost guarantee you that if it was really a goddamn one of the old shoots from the 30s and whoever they could put the fucking belt on or are going to put the belt on in AEW, Mondo would fucking stretch them. Even though he's too nice to actually do it, and they'd never let it go to that, but you could believe it. I'd say fucking promo the hell out of it. I dare you to come and face me, he said.
I mean, Tony and Billy Corgan are both from Chicago, right? Or Tony's outside of Chicago, but same difference.
Oh, Tony's from Neptune. I don't think there's any goddamn Chicago connection there or whatever the fuck. They're going to sit down over a deep dish pizza. Corgan's a vegetarian. See, that's another reason not to trust him.
Well, I'm not even saying they should make up. I'm saying lean into it. This is my town. You better not come back here, Four Eyes. I'm going to knock you out.
Well, now then, have you seen Corgan looks like a goddamn disconnected bucket of body parts?
That's
physically.
What makes it funny. That's what makes it funny.
So
think of Billy Corgan getting into a fist fight with Tony Khan. Tell me it's not a funny thought. Tell me it's not a slap fight you wouldn't want to watch.
That's like when the George Carlin routine. You can't make rape funny. Okay, imagine Porky Pig raping Elmer Fudd. This is that kind of the same vein of humor there.
Yeah, I still don't find that one funny. I don't know about what George Carlin was saying there, but
maybe it was the other way around. See, it's one way and not the other. I don't think it counts as bestiality.
No, well,
but nevertheless, speaking of screwing the pooch, so that's what Tony is doing right now with his company and with his new title.
Well, just to end this, do you think Tony's wrong to introduce the national title for whatever reason right now?
I think it's ludicrous to introduce any more titles when what he needs to do is get rid of half of what he's got and make the other ones important. So there's that. I think that it's needless to introduce a championship of the same name as one of the smaller companies that with a lot of fans is always going to get the underdog goodwill. Tony's got all these billions of dollars. He's picking on these, even though Corgan's a rock star, he's peanuts compared to, his bumper man father. I think it's just stupid to name it the same thing as a current championship in another company and try to draw the lineage to the goddamn title when it was an NWA title when the other company is technically the NWA. And it also with the Shockwave thing, again, come up with your own shit. If it's active shit that's been done by a company that has some level of recognition in the last few years, the fuck? That's my opinion on it.
Well, we will stay on top of this and see what happens.
But you know what? I'll tell you what. See, I asked that and answered it real quick. What we ought to do is just start a contest to decide, maybe to pick, will Tony Khan introduce 3 more championship belts in 2026? Or will he introduce 2 more, maybe less than 3 or more than 3? Stuff like that. Because when you pick things like that and you're right about picking like that, then you can get paid at Prize Picks.
That's right.
I'm a picking and I'm a grinning. That's why our sponsor, our fine, proud sponsor that brings this show to you by virtue of sponsoring it, Prize Picks, when you make decisions there and you're right, you can get paid. You might make average everyday decisions, Brian, all the time about should you go to the store? Should you go to the post office? Or should you engage in some kind of carnal relations with a watermelon out in the field while the farmer's gone? You never know what decisions you might have in front of you.
Watch out for Gallagher.
But if you pick with Prize Picks and you say, for example, they're playing the football now, right? The football is still being played, isn't it?
The football is happening.
The football is happening. Well, let's say you want to pick where one of those football players that do those things is going to do more or less of them. Well, if you just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, if you get your picks right, you could cash in. You can get action on football and basketball. Boy, and I'll tell you what, I heard those football and basketball players get plenty of action in more than 40 states with Prize Picks. And they now offer stacks, so you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Do you think one of those players can get laid 3 times in the same game?
Yeah, I mean, depends on the size of the stadium and where you can go, I would think.
True, and it also, do they go into overtime?
Darryl Stroger
What do you want
to
pick?
Take women in between the innings, it's been said.
Well, take them where? If you want to pick more on Steph Curry's points, 3-pointers, and assists, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup.
Yeah.
Only on Prize Picks.
Only
and
there.
You can also follow the other Prize Picks players directly on the app. And I mentioned this, you'll know where they are at all times. And you get their phone numbers. So you can call them up in the middle of the night and ask them advice.
No tracking and also no contact information.
You can copy their lineups in one click. And you just click it and it goes on microfilm. And then it puts it on the pigeon's leg and it flies it over to you. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, well, they're not going to be able to get away from you because you can hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. You'll also know whenever they're in the shower. And also, whenever they leave the house, you'll be able to track them digitally.
You won't know
via satellite.
You won't know those things. You can use your imagination, but what you can do with Prize Picks is use what you know, use your information and your feelings on things, and your intuition. That's right. And you could win.
Yes, and how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, if you want to play dirty, you can do that too. We encourage people.
No, we don't.
To get in there and rough it up.
Follow the rules. That's what we encourage with Prize Picks.
If you want, you got to, when you're down in the trenches and it's 3rd down and you got to get in there and play some dirty football. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. Well, so then if you're counting on you getting paid if you're right, you can get paid sometimes if you're wrong. Well, you're getting paid a lot. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the Power Play, because that's where the big money is. And boy, I'll tell you what, that Power Play, it's electrifying. They're going to plug you in to a specially operated chair that you watch the game in. And if your picks hit, then boom, you got a bunch of money. But if your picks miss, you're plugged into the wall and they're going to give you a little zzz.
No, again, ladies and gentlemen, there won't be any Antonio Inoki. He can use a zap, just like you mentioned, but he doesn't have it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have it, use it. And of course, what we mean is intelligence,
don't lose it.
A love of sports, and the desire to win. Ignore a lot of what this man over here is saying, except for the facts. And the facts are that Prize Picks is waiting for you, Jim.
They're waiting for you.
What kind of great deal do we have for this wonderful listenership?
Well, I'll tell you what, you can download the Prize Picks app today and use the code JCE to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So they're 10 times the amount of money you've got invested in this thing is going to return to you automatically there when you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup at code JCE on the Prize Picks app, because at Prize Picks, it's good to be right. It's better to be king, and it's best to get money for it.
That's right.
Yes.
Once again, Prize Picks one last time, Jim. Professionally concise.
I just said it concisely. In a short version, no reason to go and get wordy about these things. We've got bigger fish to fry. JCE is the code. to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup at Prize Picks. And for you people who do this type of thing, you know how to do this thing. And this is the thing that you like to do.